This is Around the Farm, the podcast about all things ag. I'm your host, Clint Schaffer, and today we're going to have a discussion with Brian Scott of The Farmer's Life. We might even hear from his dogs, too. And when Brian isn't, farming corn and popcorn, soybeans and wheat, he's usually posting on social media. So let's get to it. Hey, Brian, welcome to Around the Farm. Thanks for joining us here today. Hey, for those that don't know you, how about you give yourself an introduction here?
Hi, Clint. Yeah, I'm Brian Scott, farmer from Northwest Indiana. Fourth generation, farm alongside my dad right now. We grow corn, soybeans, popcorn, and wheat. And I'm probably best known as The Farmer's Life on social media.
Gotcha, man. That's quite a few crops. Popcorn. That's got to be a fun crop to be a part of.
Yeah, popcorn's interesting. We've done that since 2 years before I was born. So
wow.
I'm doing it my whole life. Obviously, it's not a whole lot different than raising regular corn, but it's definitely an interesting talking point.
Yeah, I could imagine. So, did you always know you were going to farm, or did this kind of come about some other time?
I always knew I was going to. That was always the plan through high school and college. Then last semester of college, going back from Christmas break, I announced I wasn't going to farm, and not sure why at the time. I think maybe because that was always the plan. I was afraid maybe I should do something different. So, of all things, I ended up working retail in town for 6 years before I came back to the farm.
Oh, nice. Well, I would assume working retail, that gives you probably a pretty good perspective, though, from that side of the business. Has that helped you? I guess that, that 6 years, has that helped you in your farming career now?
Yeah, I would say it has. It wasn't ag retail. I actually worked at a farm and home storm, so not like fertilizer and spraying.
Yep.
Rural King, if anybody's heard of that, I'm sure, through the Midwest. Helped open a new store in our town. I guess that's what interested me, is go work behind the scenes at a store that wasn't open for several months.
Oh, wow.
Help open it up, started as assistant manager and was store manager a year or so later, and then moved and ran a store in the next town for about 3 years before I gave that up.
Wow. But I would still look at that, as getting a store open, and I would assume gave you some good business perspectives at that point in time.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely good lessons in business. I had never done a job besides working at home on the farm between school years. So That's the first off the farm job I had. My boss told me he hired me because I didn't have any experience, so I didn't have any bad habits.
There you go. Well, going back to your farm, what do the crops look like right now? What are you getting prepared for? Just kind of give me a rundown, would you?
Crops are looking pretty good. Fingers crossed we get another August rain this weekend. We did about 3 weeks in June of no rain and 90 degrees, which is pretty hot and dry for our part of the world. So maybe we lost some of the top then, but we've had pretty good rains since then, and it's really cool right now. So we're kind of having a stress-free grain fill period at the moment. Right now, we're kind of focused on hauling the last of the grain. We shoveled out the last load of beans this morning, and we got a good amount of corn yet to haul.
Gotcha. Starting to get the combine and everything ready?
Yeah, it should be ready to go. That's one nice thing about wheat. We don't grow a ton of wheat. We just get to play with all our equipment for a couple of days right before 4th of July. So it's a new to us combine this year, so it ran just fine. Parked it back in the shed. Should fire right back up, be ready for fall.
Nice. Well, that kind of brings me to a question that I always got to ask. Is it a grain cart or is it an auger wagon on your farm?
It is a grain cart. It is
all right.
I have a friend, Marie, in Oregon. My friend Marie in Oregon, they grow grass. She argues that it's a bank out wagon. It's green.
Add another one to the list there. Well, I think I've only found like one or two people that are with me on the auger wagon. So that's where I sit. And I'm just going to have to hold my ground on this. Speaking of that, I've seen that that same battle across Twitter and other social media. I mean, you run a pretty good sized social media account. How about you step us through that?
Yeah, so the Farmer's Life, it's like 11 years old now, something like that.
Wow.
Something I thought about doing for maybe a year or so, and then we were actually on vacation in Hawaii, and I couldn't sleep the night we were going to fly back home. So I think I downloaded the WordPress app and probably wrote like a 2 or 3 sentence long blog post and started from there.
Wow. I mean, what keeps you motivated, right? I mean, I would assume that, when you're creating content, that's a lot of work in itself, but some things hit, some things fall flat. How do you keep yourself motivated to continuously push content out to the folks?
Sure. Yeah. There's times where I thought I could just delete all my profiles and be done. But I look back and where I've gone, I've got to travel a lot. I've been over to Europe. I ended up with a group of farmers for a few years, went to DC a few times to talk to regulators and Congress people about some GM traits and things like that. So that was neat. And then just all the new people and friends I've met over the years, that makes it worth it to keep going. I've learned how to make a little money the last couple of years. So
nice.
That definitely helps.
That's always it seems to be a good motivator, right?
Yeah. And I've been careful to, I won't really promote anything I'm not already using or maybe have a high interest in using. So I probably turned down a lot of stuff that would be easy, but it just wouldn't fit what I'm doing otherwise.
That's a hard place to navigate in social media, especially for influencers, for like I said, promoting products, because you build that trust with your audience, right? And I think in order to maintain that trust, just like what you said, it has to be something that either you're using or you believe in. And I've seen some folks go down the other path of accepting a lot of things, and I think that can have a negative impact on your audience at that point.
Yeah, I agree, and I wouldn't feel right doing it, and I just want to, when I do something or do some branded content, I want it to feel like anything else that I've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about content, I mean, you put out a lot of great just overall farm content, but you also get into some of the agronomics. I would imagine those are a couple different audiences. If I think about folks that are generally interested in farming and learning, to those that are maybe farming and are looking for some agronomic advice, who do you see as your primary audience?
The main goal is always to talk to non-farm people about the farm in a way that's easy to understand. But I quickly realized, you're posting pictures of crops and big green tractors. You're going to attract other people that have those things too. And it goes both ways. I ask a lot of questions, especially on Twitter, if I want to know about maybe something I'm going to buy that somebody else already has, or an issue that we haven't seen before. Surely somebody else has come up with it. So it goes kind of both ways there. I actually get a lot of messages on my Facebook from overseas.
Oh, nice.
People with agronomic questions, and I'm afraid to answer them too specifically because I always say I don't really feel comfortable telling my neighbor how to farm, let alone like a guy in India that just messaged me over Facebook, and I have no idea where he's at.
Well, I mean, speaking of message, getting messages like that, how much do you interact with your audience? I mean, if somebody's asking for agronomic advice, or maybe just asking you to cover a certain topic, maybe in a video, how much interaction do you see with, just from your audience?
Yeah, I definitely have a core of people that, especially on Facebook. I see the same people a lot again, but there's definitely a group that asks certain questions, or a lot of people, they grew up on farms, but they don't farm themselves. I have a lot of those people.
Yep.
So they haven't kept up with equipment the last 30 or 40 years. So they're really interested in seeing the new stuff.
Now, you said, you're known as the farmer's life. What are all your handles on all the different social media platforms that you're on, or what platforms are you on?
Yeah, so you should be able to just find As the Farmer's Life on any of them. So the main ones would be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Haven't quite cracked the YouTube code yet, like some others have, but we'll get there. I've messed around on TikTok a little bit. I did have one video go kind of crazy there, but Facebook's my biggest one. I just cracked 100,000 on it a while ago.
Nice. Well, congratulations on that. I would assume when you say you're dabbling with TikTok, you're totally doing like viral, trendy dances. I mean, that's primarily what you're focused on there.
No, that'd be pretty bad. I got it. I think I finally broke down and got it. Somebody told me, just lock your username down, if nothing else.
Oh.
So I was like, fine, I'll do that. And I think I posted a couple videos of planting in like spring of 21. And then I didn't touch it for a few months. And then I posted a video right before I went on a trip with a buddy out to Oregon, and for a long weekend. And I had the different kinds of corn we grow and sweet corn, because people are always shocked that there's not one kind of corn that turns into anything you want it to be.
Yep.
That always really surprises people. So I did that. Went to Chicago, got on the plane, of course, had my phone off, landed in Portland, and my phone would not stop vibrating. I had to shut like everything off so I could actually use my phone. And that video had like 6 million views while we were in the air.
Holy smokes. Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is a ton of views and a ton of activity, and I just think that is so intriguing to see that kind of interest in agriculture, because I do think that there's a huge need for what you're doing, Brian, just to get that positive exposure to a farmer's life. Yeah,
and I'll say I learned, and I see a lot of people start out this way. At the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm going to teach people what farming is. I'm going to like seek out people with opposite opinion of me. And, that did get me somewhere for a while, but that does get tiring, for one thing, arguing all the time. And then you got to listen as much as you talk, or maybe more, and kind of went more that route. A lot of my early stuff was about GMOs and things, and in a lot of ways, maybe I helped a tiny bit, but I think a lot of those arguments are kind of over. Maybe resurfaced a little bit recently, but it's not what it was.
Yeah, I look at some of those arguments. They can be beneficial, but the internet is full of trolls as well. So that is a whole nother group of folks out there, right?
Yeah, definitely. In those early days, I definitely had some people that would go after me a little bit, but I've learned over the years, when you pull back from social media on either side of an argument, I try to remember probably the loudest people are maybe some of the smallest group of people, and most of us are somewhere in the middle.
Yep. Nope. I would definitely agree. So, well, getting back on the farming aspect, as far as for, we talk about farming technology with social media, but I'd like to talk about technology on your farm. What kind of technology y'all got? How do you keep track of all your records of where you planted everything, things of that nature?
Sure. So we use several things. Of course, we have electronic rotor units on the planter, all that kind of thing. We don't have all the technology, but we have kind of all the basic stuff, GPS, all that kind of thing. But climate is, of course, that's a way we keep track of pretty much every field pass is in climate. So it's always handy to pull up on my phone or my iPad. We use deer stuff too, so I've got everything kind of in both places. But climate's my day-to-day go-to since it's always in my pocket there.
Yep. How did you end up coming across FieldView just at the very beginning? What kind of brought you to the platform?
It's been several years. I would say probably through our seed dealer, I imagine. That's how we got started with that. They've kept up subscriptions over the years, so that's kind of where we started using it. And I kind of like the user interface. It's simple. It helps me keep track of stuff, and got to a point there was a couple of years I beta tested mapping anhydrous ammonia.
Oh, nice.
With it. So that was kind of interesting to do for a couple of years.
So if you had to pick your favorite feature from FieldView, what would it be?
So I do a lot of trials on the farm, so I'll mark those with a pin or something like that when I plant them or do them during side dress, whatever it is I'm doing. And then the easiest thing for me to do is just hit the loads on the harvest screen on iPad, and I just make different loads for each strip. And what's nice is when everything's in there in the iPad, if I've already marked it as something, or we do something with planter, I'll just change the variety name or something like that. So me knowing me, if I totally forget in the middle of the harvest that I'm in the middle of a trial, it's still recorded and taken care of. I can look it up later.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Has having access to data like that, has that opened up the ability to maybe run more trials and learn a little bit easier across your ground?
Yeah, just because it makes it so easy. It's just all there digitally tracked the whole season. It's easy to pull up and look at again and see what the yield was, or if I want to combine like a planting population and a side dress trial, I can, 2 months later pull that up. What did I do when I was here with the planter? And just pull it up. Like, okay, yeah, now I know where I'm at.
Yeah, I always say, when I try thinking of like my favorite feature, I always go back to remote view, especially now that it's on my phone. I love spying on Dad when he's out there either planting or harvest, especially if I'm in on the road, and kind of keeps me a little closer to the farm, even if I'm far away.
Yeah, my wife still gives me a hard time every once in a while that for some reason we had our second kid in the middle of October. I'm not sure why. So I was watching Dad from the hospital room for 2 or 3 days on the remote view.
Yep. Yeah, I know. Dad has used it as well. He was laying in a hospital bed and was spying on me as I was out there. So it definitely gives a lot of access at that point in time.
Yeah, and you can definitely see what's going on if you're not around for whatever reason.
Well, Brian, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come on here and talk about all of your endeavors, both farming and on your social media platforms. I think what you're doing is absolutely awesome. Thanks,
Clint. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for listening to maybe the dogs a little bit ago, barking upstairs.
But, that happens.
Yeah,
that happens.
Thanks. Good to be here.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll come back on at a later date. So, and good luck with harvest this year.
Thank you. See you later.
Hey, a big thank you goes out to Brian for joining us here today. And if you're not following him on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or Twitter or now TikTok, you ought to go out there and subscribe to his videos there and check him out. He does an amazing job on The Farmer's Life. Also, I just want to thank you, the listeners, for joining us here today. And remember that you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Also, Around the Farm is brought to you by Climate FieldView. Until next time, we'll see you around the farm.